Today we're talking to our research director, Duncan Simpson, about our latest dynamic tax model, which we're just releasing, and he's going to tell us more about the system and how it works.
What we're trying to do with this model is look at what are the impacts on how big the economy will be, how much investment there'll be, and on wages when changes are made to the tax system. And we're doing that because what the Treasury doesn't do is look at these what are called dynamic effects. So when they are working out a new tax is being introduced or it's reduced, what is the change in revenue? So how much money is the Treasury going to bring in when corporation tax, when income tax is changed? Through their modelling, they're not doing something quite publicly that we'll choose to do, which was looking at those kind of big effects on the economy in terms of how that's modelled. They have done this previously, the Treasury, but they haven't made this a very regular, uniform process to go through, at least publicly, as and when big fiscal events like the budget happen. We've got a huge amount of data. So we've got all publicly available, so things like the Office of Budget Responsibility, the Public Finances Data Bank. So that tells you, for example, what various kinds of taxes, what kind of revenue that's brought in recent years, as well as future forecasts. We're looking at things like the net capital stock in the economy, so how much capital spending has happened by local government, central government, private sector organisations, households, and so on and so forth. And we're basically, so to create the model, we're looking at pretty much a 10-year period, sort of running up to 2019. And then we're also applying that to what's happening in the economy today. And then we're also sort of showing in a few forecasts as well to see how taxes might change in the future. And then when that sort of 10-year period is taken, certain assumptions are made as to what we think the economy is going to be looking like in 10 years' time.
Okay, so let's take a real life example. So we've got a national insurance increase coming up of 1.25 percentage points. If you plugged that into the model, what kind of data would that throw out?
Compared to what's called sort of the baseline scenario, in other words, if no tax changes were made over the current period or incoming years, we're sort of comparing the baseline scenario to how things will change when that national insurance increase goes ahead. And our model shows us that the economy is going to be about £24 billion smaller in 10 years' time if that change wasn't to be made. Investment spending as well will be sort of £6 billion less. And then intriguingly as well, for average weekly earnings, we're looking at about £5 a week, we think. So on a yearly basis, about £260 per person. So that's obviously quite a sizable impact. Now that's only just taking into account national insurance. Obviously we've got numerous things down the road like corporation tax as well as being gradually ratcheted up, thresholds as well for income tax and national insurance. That's one specific effect which we're able to model. But of course there are, as I was saying earlier, there are any number of taxes where we can go through these kind of changes and sort of work out how this actually going to impact people and businesses on a day-to-day basis.
And you can put in all those tax changes all at the same time, so you can show the sort of butterfly effect that it would have of all those tax increases coming all at the same time or all in a few years' time.
Yeah, exactly. And we can do it on the basis of, so not obviously we're just doing national insurance at the moment, but you can do it for a range of taxes. So it's particularly helpful for big events like the budget, for example, where you have a policy costings document which will show what the Treasury think is going to change in revenue, but then sort of an itemization of all these different tax rates and small things like changes to tobacco taxes or anything else like that. So yes, the model is able to kind of compute various changes, and intriguingly as well, we will in future be able to put in new taxes. So there could be any kind of iterations of new levies which are introduced over the coming years. Also, the government isn't necessarily saying that at the moment, but the model is designed in such a way as to be quite flexible with big or very small changes in fiscal policy, and hopefully we'll be able to see that. I mean, obviously, as I said, we're using a lot of past data. We're making quite a few estimates. We're not going to be able to put in sort of every single new tax, but broadly speaking, we covered pretty much the entirety of the tax base as well as any or most kind of innovations that might happen to tax policy in the future.